got it? Yeah. Test, test. You hearing that? Okay.
We're ready for the tape.
Yes. Hang on, hold on.
Just tell me.
We're good?
Good evening. It is 7 o'clock on November 19th, 2020. I call to order the regular monthly meeting of the Board of Trustees. First up on our agenda is the invocation and pledge of allegiance. I'll turn it over to Ms. Branham.
Thank you, Ms. Rucker. Let us pray. Dear Lord, please be with each and every one of us this evening, and also please continue to watch over all of our children and our staff and our schools. Please work hard to keep us healthy and safe during this holiday season. And dear Lord, we just ask that on Thanksgiving Day, we can all think of different reasons that we have to give you thanks for all the wonderful gifts you give us. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is the consent agenda. With no objections, the consent agenda stands approved as presented. Next up, reports on honors and accomplishments of students and staff. Dr. James.
Thank you, ma'am. We've got a couple of really important awards in the life of the school district. The first being the Heroes and Heroines. The Heroes and Heroines Society in Lexington 2 began in 1990-91 school year, and the intent was to honor the finest educators in the district. If you go into the Teal Room, the portraits that are in there on the wall of fame in the Teal Room have demonstrated a true belief of their profession, the ambition to make a difference in each child's life, to show respect, understanding, and just all-around care for kids. Those folks in that room, their photographs are there representing what Lexington 2 feels to be the best of the very best for teachers in our school. The person that we're recognizing tonight is the 36th inductee. I met this person when I was here the first time around. I've learned a lot about her since then in reading about it, but I met Linda when I was just becoming a principal and didn't know an awful lot about it, and she seemed to know everything. But over the course of her time, she's been known as Linda Bunny Brown, and she's been known as assistant principal, she's been known as Ma Brown. Linda's one of those folks, like a lot of educators, she retired in 2010, but she never left. She's been back at BC, she's been dedicated to working with probably one of the most important groups of kids that we have, those kids that their attendance just keeps them from being successful, and she does a really good job of tracking down kids. She's been influential in helping us just a really caring individual. Linda has been an English teacher. She's been the dean of girls. Like I said, when I first met her, she was assistant principal at Brooklyn Casey High School. She was there for the restoration of the building when the building was burned in 1990, and I found out the state newspaper has a picture of Linda and her husband on the front page right after that. Linda was assistant principal at Pine Ridge, and has put more than 50 years in public education. And out of those 50 years, 40 of them or more have been in Lexington too. She's formed lots of relationships, and I would dare say that everybody in our district knows who she is. Linda now has found that kind of niche that all of us do at a certain age. We're dealing with children of the children we taught. I understand that. I work for one of mine. There you go.
Dr. James, could you come over here? They're having a difficult time.
Sir.
Thank you.
Linda has several members of her family, and I will tell you, we're delighted to recognize her, and we're thankful that you came, because it's been a long time since somebody has been in this boardroom. Linda, I want to put on my mask, and I've got a little token of Lexington 2's appreciation for you. So if you'll come up. This reads, Linda Bunders Brown, 2020 inductee, Heroes of Heroin Society of Lexington School District 2. On behalf of all those 50 years worth of kids that you have helped, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Rucker,
Yes.
may I say something real quick, Dr. Bill?
Certainly.
I just want to tell a little bit of a personal story. LBB, or Ma Brown, as we like to call her, both Cindy, Ms. Kessler, and I worked for her, underneath her, when she was our assistant principal at Brooklyn Casey High School. And I can just tell you that she was just one of those really, really special people who always just made you feel so happy in your heart. And the one thing that I've always told starting out administrators when they're starting to head into being assistant principals and things like that is one of the most meaningful things that she would do is she would take handwritten notes. And sometimes you would come in and check your box in the morning, and you would just all of a sudden have a little handwritten note from her that she had passed you in the hall basically and caught you doing something good, or just always a little compliment. And that's just something that young teachers, me especially, needed to hear at that time, and I just have always appreciated you for that. And I want you to know, like I've told you before, I still have those notes. They're in my keepsake book, and I've kept all those notes. So one day I'll share them with your kids and stuff too. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Linda. We appreciate it. On the other end of the spectrum, it's my honor to introduce our district teacher of the year. And I've had the good fortune of going out to Busby and meeting Alex. Alex is a unique teacher. She was nominated for the Teacher of the Year at Busby last year. She was this year. She has become our District Teacher of the Year. She teaches 7th grade math and science. And one of the things that kind of drew me to her story is the fact that she named a couple of people in her beginning years that influenced her to want to teach. One was her 1st grade teacher, Ms. Vaughn, and the other to show the importance of how everybody works in the district. The person who gave her the passion to teach math and be interested in math was her bus driver. Mr. J helped in her 3rd grade class, gave her challenges in math. When I read that, it affirmed what we've talked about in Lexington too, that everybody participates. Because of this man's help in driving her bus and talking to her in class and soccer practice and all those things she named, Lexington 2 has a District Teacher of the Year that teaches math and science. To separate herself even further, her class participates in something that only 20 classes in the United States take part in. She has a letter writing pen pal sort of thing going on, but it's called Letters to a Pre-Scientist. And she has STEM professionals all over the world who exchange pen pal letters with her kids. Busby Middle School is one of 21 places nationwide where that happens. And the only place in this district it happens is in Alex Pinto's class. Alex, I've got two things for you. I've got you a clock, but I've also got you a check. If you You will probably want to keep the clock, but I dare say spin the check. So, congratulations, Alex. We're glad you're here. Thank you.
Two pretty amazing ladies. Thank you, Dr. James.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We move on to unfinished business, and we don't have any, so we will move to new business. First up is consideration of revision of board policy GBAA-R, sexual harassment and retaliation staff. Dr. Cooper.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. James, you know, we brought this policy to you, some months ago. Actually, it was enacted on August 14th, 2020. Since that time, we have.
Dr. Cooper, I'm sorry. Will you turn your microphone on?
Is that better? I'm sorry. Okay. Yes, ma'am. What we have regards the Title IX policy that was effective, final rule on August the 14th, 2020. And essentially, once the school boards reviewed it, they asked for some more direct language regarding supportive measures in that administrative rule. So rather than it saying will, they would like for it to say will provide rather than may provide. So our administrative recommendation is simply to follow their recommendation to make that change in the line of supportive measures.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to uphold the administration's recommendation and approval of policy GBAA-R, sexual harassment and retaliation staffed to a more direct verb using will provide, recommended by the SCSBA.
And Madam Chair, I neglected to say, we are asking for first and second reading on this revision for this administrative rule.
Amend the motion to read first and second
Thank you.
approval.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, motion by Ms. Kessler to include the first and second reading. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Summers. Any discussions? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we have item B, consideration of demolition of houses on Hembet and Platte Springs properties. Mr. Eisenhower.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, we have before you the recommendation from the administration is to award the contract for the demolition of the house on Hembet and the house on the Platte Springs property to AAA Utility and Construction in the amount of $50,000 pending the 10-day protest period. And we also will be doing some asbestos removal monitoring because both of those houses have asbestos in those, and we'll be giving you that information next month, or actually in January. But right now, we estimate about $9,500 for that. But we're not asking you to approve that at this time. Since you've given us the ability to award contracts up to $25,000, we'll just report that as we get that contract information.
All right.
You said 50?
$50,000 to AAA Utility and Construction.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Rucker, I'll make a motion that we accept administration's recommendation to award the contract as presented to AAA Construction in the amount of $50,000.
We have a motion by Ms. Branham. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Bray. Any discussions? All right, being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, next we move to administrative division reports. Report to the people and instructional update. Dr. James.
Yes, ma'am. We are going to combine this, as you know, Dr. Brooks isn't able to be here, and HIPAA would prevent me telling you any more than that. But I'm going to take his time anyway, because we put together a report that we're about to put out. Every year we do a report to the people. This is kind of where we are as Lexington too. If I can get my clicker from Bernie, I'm going to try to do this sitting down so folks can hear me, but it's real difficult for me to sit and teaching. They didn't ever want you to sit, and then coaching, you're too excited to sit. So anyway, we're going to try to do this in that sit-down fashion, and if I have to get up, I'll just cross the table, I guess. Help me out, Bernie.
Hold on.
There we go. I came here in May of 2015, and this board had just passed a $225 million bond referendum, and in August brought Don, and Don and I immediately started pulling on our coaching mentality, and I started talking about Lexington too, and something called the Gonzaga Swagger. If you don't know the Gonzaga Swagger, Gonzaga is a school that's got 5,200 kids in it, in Spokane, Washington, of all places. And in 70 years of basketball, they've won 25 conference championships and then been in the nationals 22 of those times. Their motto seems to be, we don't care who you are, how big you are, how good you are, we'll play anytime, anywhere. I would submit to you that whenever you leave here tonight, if you don't have the Gonzaga Swagger, you ain't paying attention. In 2014, this is what we looked like in Lexington too. The community's perceptions before our board voted, our voter-approved referendum came about is our facilities were updated. They were among the oldest in the Midlands. Classrooms were overcrowded. The graduation rates were below the state average. In 2010, 63.5% of the kids in this district were graduating. That translates to 4 out of every 10 didn't. Lexington 2 found themselves in a competition, and you've got to think about this as competition because it's out there and it's alive and well. River Bluff had just opened, and it was arguably the finest high school facility in the state of South Carolina, if not the Southeast. Gray opened up and pulling kids away from the school district, and East Point was sucking up elementary age kids. Charter schools were gaining ground. They offered personalized experiences. Our vocational programs were limited. We double dipped in the fact that we had 2 automotive classes. We didn't get kids across to one school or the other. Kids were going to college, but none of them were going with a lot of credits. In comes the bond referendum, and I would dare say most people in this room worked really hard for that 2014 bond referendum, and that passed by a 2-to-1 margin. 66% of the people in this community voted for a $225 million bond referendum. The overview of that referendum, we get $225 million. And the vision was that we're going to create a district where the aging facilities are improved, the technology is improved, there's more safety, there's more security in our buildings. We're going to have a one-to-one technology device for all kids, K-12. We will touch every building in this district, either to completely remodel it or completely rebuild it. New, we're going to build an innovation center, and we're going to build a performing arts center. The numbers I will give you are accurate as of 6/30/2020. So when you see that, we stopped the books at the fiscal year for this report. So they won't be off very much, but don't look at it and say, that's not quite right today. That's the end of the fiscal year. The original budgets, when I walked in May of 2015, Venus handed me this sheet and was off to Bluffton. We had $225,053,000 and change budgeted. I don't know where the budgeting actually came from. It's broken out. We're going to give you this sheet in hard copy because I know that's hard to read. Those of you that have been on the board for a long time, you've already seen this. But each school was laid out. There was a certain amount attributed to the hard cost, to the soft cost, and to the total projects. The thing for you to remember that I would urge is that it was $225 million. When I came here, they were talking about two different school settings. It was affectionately known as the triplets and the twins. Elementary 1 was going to be the triplets. In other words, we were going to combine three schools, BC Grammar number 1, Pine View, Saluda River, all into one school on Henbeth. And looking and talking and figuring and thinking about what do 1,300 elementary kids look like in one space, we've come up with what I would say is a much better plan that this board approved. In addition to combining two schools, we kept Saluda River Academy Arts as a magnet school for the arts. And I would dare say that right now, most everybody is delighted about that because it truly is an arts magnet school and it truly is a beautiful school. Long story short, that project ended up $9.371 million more than the projected cost. Don't fear, it works out, I promise. Riverbank Elementary comes online. We've got early childhood wing, we've got elementary wings, a new cafetorium, an inside gym. We can open that up to make a single space between those two. We've got project labs, collaborative learning spaces, windows with light, energy, efficiency, air, lighting, state-of-the-art safety features, the intruder resistance glass, phone systems, access controls, all of those things. And that cost was $34.8 million. At Saluda River, that was originally scheduled to be part of the new riverbank. The wisdom in keeping that school as an arts magnet school, we now have a new cafetorium, a gym, arts performance spaces, a bigger media center, the safety features that needed to go in there, LED lighting, and we furnished all of the new spaces, but we provided $300 a student to buy new furniture for that school because a lot of the furniture in the school had been there for years on end. Actual cost was $13.6 million. There's what we had before the bond referendum, and that's what we end up with. Elementary number 2 was called the Twins. That was to combine Taylor Elementary and Davis Early Childhood Center for Technology into one new school. And it had been, I'm not sure, when I left here the first time, Davis and Taylor were both elementary schools, but it had been a long while since we had put early childhood and elementary together. That was a unique situation in and of itself because there were two different schools. They had two different goals. They had two different groups of clientele, and getting them to come together and work together as an elementary school was a unique situation. The projected cost of that was $33.8 million. It came in at 33.5, and so we ended up $266,000 under what the actual proposed cost would be, and ended up with an absolutely lovely elementary school. Again, it has the elementary and early childhood wings, the indoor gymnasium, the cafetorium. You can open both of those up and make a larger space. Project labs, collaborative learning areas, one-to-one technology, all the natural light you could ever imagine, all of the safety features, and it's furnished with absolutely brand-new furniture and equipment, $33,500,000. The before and the after. Airport High School, the proposed budget was $15,580,000. The overall task force interest seemed to center around safety features, HVAC, roofing, flooring, restroom renovations, intercoms, lighting, some new athletic areas, renovating the auditorium, doing some work in the old vocational wing, resurfacing the track, a new locker room, trainer's room, all of those things at the end of the football field, and replace the breezeway canopies. When the project ended, you can see, and I won't take the time to read everything there, you are going to get a copy of this presentation, but we ended up with much more done there than was first proposed, and then we gave Airport High School $300 per student for new furniture throughout the building. And that was well needed there too. We had not had a furniture budget in this district in a long, long time. I know that there was furniture at Airport High School that was there when I was the principal, Ms. Rucker was a student. So, the after product. At Brooklyn Casey High School, the proposal was for new HVAC, some security features, roofing, plumbing, restrooms where needed, lighting upgrades, upgrade to the gym, the old gym, resurface some tennis courts, add a batting cage, concession stands, toilets, and do some renovation in the auditorium, new basketball arena, track renovations, some classroom renovations in the vocational wing, select window replacement, basically putting the correct size window in, replacing some breezeways and canopy covers, and the fire alarm. The projected cost was $27 million. The actual cost was $29.4. That's not including the fact that we bought some property and tore down a hotel. But here's what we got for all that. We built a new athletic arena that I would argue is as fine as anywhere. We've done a complete major auditorium restoration, and it looks as good as the day it was built, if not better. We added the one-to-one technology, all of the safety features, all of the cameras, phone access, the digital signage, installed HVAC, the plumbing, LED lighting, resurfaced 4 of the tennis courts, added a 5th tennis court, replaced the windows in the north wing, making them the correct size, added baseball and softball concessions and toilets, painted the entire school, added whiteboards, interactive panels, replaced breezeway covers, 2 science labs, installed Bermuda grass, built the press box, and again, provided $300 in funding per student for new furniture throughout the building. Busby Creative Arts Center, that was probably the building that was in the best shape in the district at the time of the bond referendum. The proposal was for safety features, extend the sidewalk, canopy in the back of the school, do some erosion repair, add some capacity to the 700 hall electrical room, electronic locks on the exterior doors, do some landscaping and facade improvements, and relocate the dumpsters. You can see we've added an ADA accessible basketball playground. Mr. Eisenhower and I were over there one day, and those kids were learning to be tremendous players, but because they were actually dribbling around one of those green dumpsters before they could shoot. So we've replaced that. We've added the one-to-one technology, added some sidewalk on the cafeteria side, extended the bus canopy, built a turning lane in there. The projected cost was $1.8 million, turned out to be $1.5, net of $260,000. No more shooting around dumpsters. At Congaree Elementary, the proposal was for a pitch metal roof facade, HVAC in the office, some plumbing, some lighting, some interior paint, renovate some classroom sinks and water fountains, replace the media center ceiling tiles, add 2 classrooms, some asbestos demolition work, and some outside lighting. We ended up, the project was projected at $8.5 million. We spent 9.2, about $750,000 extra. We put in fire alarms, sprinkler systems, new roof, lighting upgrades, HVAC, flooring. We painted the entire facility, converted the old cafeteria into the gym, added the one-to-one technology, added all the safety features that we could want, new group restrooms, 2 new classrooms, converted the old gym, and gave them $300 a child for new furniture. If you saw those areas right there beforehand, I'd say it's a marked improvement. Fulmer Middle School, the proposal, the projected cost was $13 million, and the proposal was to repair and enclose some breezeways, replace the clock, the bell system, the phones, cameras, replumbing, some bathroom renovations, some lighting upgrades, a new kitchen cafeteria. That project turned into, we demolished more than half of the school and rebuilt it to add a new cafeteria kitchen, a media center, art rooms, administrative areas, science labs, one-to-one technology, improved the play areas, added safety features to it, installed new flooring, added restrooms, repainted and re-roofed the existing facility, installed security fencing, LED lighting, HVAC, actual cost of $20.9 million for an additional $7.7 million from the projected cost. Northside Middle, proposed was HVAC and flooring, upgrade and expand the security camera system, add the electronic locks, put some gutters and scuppers in, paint the interior of the building. Projected cost was just over $2 million. We finished at just under budget by basically $32,000. But what we did do is we added more to the actual amount of work. Painted the entire facility, added the safety features, the one-to-one technology, the phone system, the digital sign system, the LED lighting, replaced most of the floor and new cafeteria sound system, installed all new roof scuppers, pointed up all the brick, installed waterproofing on the gym wall, installed gutters on the front canopy, and paid $300 per student in funding for new furniture. Out at Pine Ridge, the projected cost was $9.8 million. Actual cost was $10 million for a $177 add-on. The idea was new HVAC, roofing, plumbing, restroom renovations, all of those same things. We built a new cafeteria and kitchen, some flooring replacement, renovated the group restrooms, added group male and female restrooms, LED lighting, converted the cafeteria into classroom space and the old kitchen into a multi-purpose classroom and storage space, painted the entire facility, replaced all the whiteboards and interactive panels, added one-to-one technology, replaced all the rotted fascia and soffit, added all the safety features, replaced the fire alarms, the intruder system, re-roofed most of the building and replaced most of the HVAC units and added $300 per pupil for new furniture and improved fire department access. That's a picture of the cafeteria area that was added there. Herbert A. Wood, the proposal, majority of it was 4 classroom additions for 4K, then lighting, safety, those kinds of things. We actually ended up adding 5 classrooms, replaced the roof on the elementary portion, replaced most of the HVAC, added a sprinkler system, replaced the fire alarm, the intruder system, the one-to-one technology, painted the building, added the safety features, the phone system, the digital signs, the glass. We installed first responder radio enhancement, LED lighting, flooring upgrades. The projected cost was $7.4 million. We spent $8.6 million for an add of $1,254,000. Springdale Elementary, the projected cost was $9.5 million. The actual cost turned out to be $16.5 million. We had proposal for extensive renovations and additions, new HVAC, awnings on the front of the building, upgrade and expand the security system, locks, replumb the school, add restrooms to make sure we kept up with student growth, renovate classroom sinks and water fountains. We ended up building 6 new classrooms, new restrooms, teacher workrooms, administrative wing, nurses station, SRO office, adding the one-to-one technology, adding a new bus loop, 2 new student pickup areas. Most of you will remember, I remember when I dropped William off, you just pulled over on the sand there and he kind of jumped out. So, but we've got 2 new student pickup and drop-off areas, covered walkways, more parking, improved fire department access, cafeteria, the media center, on, and you can read that. And then ultimately for all of the new spaces, they were fully furnished. For the other spaces, the old spaces, we provided $300 a child in funding for new furniture there, so we didn't have old furniture in a new building. Lexington 2 Innovation Center. Our proposal was to build and equip the CATE Center that could be used by both high schools and prepare students to be in a career or college ready. The result, we built a state-of-the-art facility that is fully equipped. It's 117,000 square feet. It houses spacious rooms. It has dual enrollment college courses. It has career and technical education classes. The facility is absolutely fantastic. There is a room there, a multi-purpose room that will seat 240 people in theater-style seating and 290 people for dinner if you have some sort of community school dinner. The multi-purpose room has programmable LED stage lighting, a large screen, and a sound system that is tremendous. The projected cost was $30,977,000. The actual cost was $29,271,000. And there are several projects I want to call your attention to, and this is one of them. The difference of $1.7 million doesn't have anything to do with the diligence of CM at risk. That $1.7 million has to do with the fact that Joni and Bernie went over a year early and before the building was built, and most all of the equipment that is in that building they put together with Perkins grant funds and saved this district $1.7 million. So Joni's not here, Bernie is. Thank you guys, cause your salary, I'd trade it for $1.7 million every day. If you haven't been in this building, it's tremendous. Other projects that have gone on, the former Davis Elementary, it has new roofing, new plumbing, HVAC, carpet in certain areas. It housed Springdale as a swing school. It housed Fulmer as a swing school. It's now Newbridge, the alternative program. If you look at that, the projected cost was $1.6 million. The actual cost was $830,000, and again, we've got a group of folks that we've got to say thank you to, because that work was self-performed construction. And basically what that means is, in addition to doing what they do every day, our maintenance guys did that and saved us $856,000. Bill, if you'll tell your guys, we appreciate that. The first project that Don and I worked on together here was the transportation parking lot. He still complains about that. We had a contract. The contract projected cost was $431,000. He couldn't get it down past 201, swears that if we'd got the contract earlier, he would have saved more than $229,000. I don't know, but I'm appreciative of the fact that all of these are coming in under budget. Lexington 2 Community Education Center, we never had that. That wasn't part of the bond referendum. We repurposed BC Grammar number 1. That was Christy Henderson's idea, that they have a space of their own, and that's turned into a one-stop shop. Jim's got student services there. We got adult ed there. We got early childhood there. Families can come. Again, kudos to one of our folks, because most of the conversion for that center, the new flooring, the new paint, the furniture, the AV, the additional parking, all of those things that you see in the middle portion, the bulk of that work was done because of money that Christie was able to get from the State Department of Education. We do have some CPIF funded renovations in there, but not nearly what that building costs. That's Lexington 2 people working really hard, again, to be good team players. The Performing Arts Center, our challenge is to build a performing arts auditorium to serve the elementary and middle schools, and possibly be built at George I. Pear campus. That possibly at George I. Pear campus came because the first meeting I was in, I was asked, where do you think to put it? That's the only spot that didn't have any place designated to go there, and it's the exact center of the district. So first meeting, my answer was George I. Perry campus. Since that time, we've been able to sell the district office instead of replacing the roof and replacing the air conditioning, replacing the carpet and replacing the lighting, and should have replaced the flooring a long time ago. And our current plan is to build a state-of-the-art facility of about 2,000 seats on 29 acres at the corner of Saks Gotham, 12th Street Extension. We'll have a meeting on December the 8th to talk about all the details of that facility. That would be the last piece of this bond referendum. Land acquisitions, we bought $16 million worth of land. Casey Elementary, Riverbank, Henbet, Cougar Drive, Springdale Bus Loop, Saluda River Lot, BC, 12th Street Extension, and Platte Springs. Our project totals are this. If I can divert you to the very bottom. If we were running to that first sheet that I showed you with all those projections, we would have $225 million and we would have spent $207 million, which would leave us $18 million to do the district office and a fine arts center. To date, we have spent, and new board members don't get excited because we're not the least bit in the red. I've got some good news for you. We have spent $254 million. Everywhere got more building than was ever projected or ever thought of. In addition, we got a pay-as-you-go long-range plan that we call the 2030 plan. And without it, any sort of unseen catastrophe, this board won't have to do a bond referendum for the life of this plan. We'll continue to do what we have done, use short-term issuances, and end up paying those off year by year. Now, when I told you we spent $254 million and you were scheduled for $207 million, what I didn't tell you is that we have turned $225 million bond referendum into over $300 million. And that comes about from interest rates timing our bond sales. It comes from the fact that Bernie and Joni ends up writing grants to get $1.7 million worth of equipment. It comes from the fact that Bill's folks did $1 million worth of in-house work. It comes from the fact that Christy Henderson was able to get State Department grants. But right now, today, this board has parlayed $225 million into over $300 million. That's a 33% increase in funds. And now you have over $60 million to build a district office and a fine arts center. That money is money that is capital projects. It's not money that can be moved into something else. We can't balance budgets. We can't increase our general fund budget. We can build with that. But the good thing for this board, the good thing for this community is this is a windfall. I don't know of anywhere you can put money and get a 33% gain in 5 years. But we've done it in Lexington too. In addition, if you look at the right hand, the total column, Lexington 2 has the lowest millage rate in the Midlands. It would take another 100 mills to get us to the next district. So you got the lowest millage rate in the Midlands. We've got all of those projects. They're paid for. And you've got $300 million instead of $225. How do we do on what we do? Because we don't build buildings. We teach kids. Again, I think it's time to break out the Gonzaga swagger. 2019 was unprecedented. COVID hit, we got shut down in March. Nobody in the history of the country had ever heard of every school in America closing in the middle of the year. We did. For everybody that thought it was bad, being in other districts was horrible. We were one of 15 districts in the state of South Carolina that were e-learning pilot district. We had already passed out to kids one-to-one technology. Our teachers had already prepared lessons and already were familiar with the e-learning process. They weren't familiar with how do you teach virtually for a year, but they knew how to teach virtually for 5 days, which put them ahead of the other roughly 70 districts. In addition to teaching, we served more than 310,000 free meals from March to August. We sent out buses. We had 4 different school sites. Our goal was to keep kids fed. We have in Lexington too, we have about a 78% poverty rate. Our goal was not to let kids go hungry. We had dedicated times where buses would go out, take hot spots, set up where technology would connect. We provided more digital resources. We brought in Seesaw, which is a learning management system for KU1-2, put in some after-school tutoring, put in some social and emotional support, group online meetings, support specialists that would call individual kids and talk to them to provide support, referrals for families to assist with food and housing, coordination with DSS, check on at-risk kids, share resources for community and organizations to different agencies that people needed. We gave instructional support, professional development. All in all, our teachers came in, almost all of them, if not all of them, came back in for 3 days more of training in the summer just to figure out how to help kids virtually more. And we were able to pay them at their daily rate, which was an outstanding thing. But please take note of all of that line there. None of that has to do with reading and writing. All that has to do with making sure we take care of the basic needs of kids in this district. Graduations, we pulled them off. It didn't look like graduation for a lot of places, but our folks did well again. If you look at it, we had $14 million in scholarship money. That's $14 million that did not leave the pockets of Lexington 2 residents. If you got a child in college or got a child about to go to college, you understand how important that is. Suitable number of honor grads with distinction, high honors, Palmetto Fellows, and then in addition to that, the Innovation Center saved $230,000 in post-high school training and professional certificates. Our fire rescue comes out fully certified, fully ready to go to work. Our welding kids come out certified, ready to go. Our cosmetology kids ready to go to work. They don't pay for any of that. That's us, and we saved them $230,000. Graduation, it was slow and you could bring your own, and some people brought 1 or 2 in a small car, and we actually had somebody borrow a church bus and bring everybody, but it didn't matter. When you look at our graduation rate, we're at 81%. Think back, stop just a minute. 10 years ago, 63%. Today, 81%. Students with disability, it increased this year 10.5 percentage points, that's kids with IEPs, to 54.9. That's 8 percentage points less than everybody 10 years ago. African American students, where most people are trying to catch up and fill that learning gap, we aren't where we need to be, but we're at 78%. And that's above the state average. Economically disadvantaged, I told you we were 78% poverty. 77% are graduating, and that's higher than the state average. Homeless students, the kids who need us the most, who got nowhere to go, 82.5% of them are graduating from our schools. That's 20% higher than the state average. SAT used to be the benchmark when I was a principal. The state average in South Carolina is 1019. The national SAT average, for all those people who talk about, oh, how that good they do way off over yonder somewhere, it's 1035 in Lexington. Now, I know that I'm not a mathematician, but Lexington 2, 1035, national average 1030, looks like we're a little bit better than the nation in both high schools. So it's not skewed one way or the other, that one high school's 1,400 and the other one's 7. Across the board, our kids are doing better for those kinds of tests than other folks. The AP classes, we've had gains in AP. The cutoff is a 3. The maximum you can score is a 5. Students scoring a 3 or better on AP exams has increased just over 9% in 3 years. We've got 1 national AP scholar, 10 AP scholars with distinction, 11 with honors, 42 AP scholars, and 2 national merit semifinalists. Again, across the board, because there's 1 at both high schools. That's the top 1% of students in America. There's 1 at Airport, there's 1 at BC. Our early college program, we got 109 kids that are enrolled in various phases of the early college program. 22 of them have earned certificates and diplomas, or both of them. The unique thing about those kids, they're getting a college diploma before we give them a high school diploma. 6 of them earned an Associate of Arts or Associate of Science. 1 of them earned both. The minimum is 62 college credits. That's 62 college credits their parents didn't have to pay for. 18 earned a General College Study Certificate. That's a minimum of 18 credits, but not a degree. 28 earned a College Scholar Recognition. That's a minimum of 18 college credits and 6 courses and a 3.0 GPA. 432 courses. 1,276 college credits earned. That's a success with our kids, and that's money in our parents' pockets. Lexington 2 and the Midlands Technical College have had a good partnership. We were the first public school district in the Midlands to partner with Midlands Tech. We were also the first to partner with them on the early college program, and our kids are going to school there during the regular high school day at no cost. And they're getting hours and they're getting degrees, and they're going off to schools all over the country with those hours from Midlands Tech, and it's been a great partnership with them. The adult ed, we missed some folks. I told you, our graduation rate's 81%. Christy and her folks awarded 164 GEDs. You can take a GED and go to Harvard. That's just as good as a diploma for going to college. There's no college that's accredited in the country that won't take a GED from an accredited adult education program. They gave out 10 high school diplomas and 222 work key credentials. Some other successes, one of the goals for this board that I was given is to reduce class size. Our average, and most of these, when we say average, they're actual. We have a few classes where they aren't, but most of them are actual. 20 to 1 in elementary, 23 to 1 in middle school, and at our high schools, we have 1 certified adult for every 17 students. We've reduced chronic absenteeism to 8.9% from 19.28%. We're in year 2 of the one-to-one technology refresh plan. The ELL teachers have a district-wide curriculum now to implement in grades 1 through 12. And we're trying to provide some consistency for both enrichment and remediation for students in their daily schedule with intervention time at every level. We talked about this last year. We are Lexington too, and we've got something to have swagger about. If you look at what makes us up, we got state-of-the-art facilities, and I'd argue they're as good as they are anywhere. We have customized student experiences. We got fiscal strength. We're in the best financial state of the history of this district. Our fund balance is in better shape than it has been. We have been responsible for the 2014 bond referendum to the voters of this district, turning $225 million into over $300 million, and we think we're a school of choice. Throughout this district, choosing Lexington 2 is a smart return on your investment as a parent. But
It's all about me.
it's about kids.
Yeah, it's all about me. And you know I'm right. It's all about me. Just to shed some light. It's all about me. And I'll say again, it's all about me. Yeah, me. Yeah, me. It's all about me. And I'll say again, it's all about me. And it's always been all about me. You know I'm right. It's all about me. That's called It's All About Me.
We are Lex 2.
We are Lex 2.
That's what it's about. It's not about anything other than those young people that you see on that screen across this district. We got 8,700 of them, and every day we give them a good education. I also have to tell the board I owe Greg Bickley, who is a Lexington 2 graduate, 37 cents for the royalties on that song. Greg is the author, the composer, and was the performer for me, but my understanding is if you use copyrighted material, you gotta pay, and the minimum is 37 cents. So I'll be sending him a quarter, a dime, and 2 pennies on a postcard. We've got a great school system. And regardless of what folks in the community, out of the community, or wherever think, our kids are doing as well as they are anywhere, and data's data. Our facilities are as fine as they can be anywhere else. The money is there for you to do what you want to do, and our general fund budget is sound. Our job is to remember it ain't about me, it ain't about Don, it ain't about you. It's about them. And we've got a perfect opportunity to do that. And if that don't make you want a Gonzaga swagger, I didn't explain it good enough. Madam Chair, I'm finished.
Well, that was amazing. Thank you, Dr. James. And that was a lot of hard work from a lot of amazing people. So thank you. Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I have a
Sure.
moment? I'm incredibly proud of our district, and I'm incredibly proud of our administration, who's worked so diligently for 6 years to get us to this point. We have some new board members, and I think it's critical at this point to ask our administration if they would present in the very near future, in the next month or two, our plan for the what we are calling the 2030. As a board, and 2 of you aren't aware of it, but the rest of us have made a commitment to stay focused for this district so that we can continue to have the best facilities and the best opportunities for the children that come to Lexington School District 2. So it's critical, and I regret that Dr. Waite's not here tonight. It is critical that we stay disciplined to the principles that stand behind the 2030 plan. If we don't, I mean, you can smile about it, you can make anything you want about it, but if we do not stay composed and stay disciplined to this plan, we will lose for our children. And as has been stated, our children are and should be our #1 priority. But thank you to the administration for all you've done, because it is tremendous, and it is better than we've ever had. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, if I might, Dr. James, thank you for bringing the swagger back, but I think without just putting it, I guess succinctly, is for the unparalleled leadership that you brought through this time over the past 6 years. I was reintroduced to you shortly after you came in the Teal Room, and we were updating on the, getting updates, I guess, on the projects for the task, that the task force had recommended. But thank you for that, the effort and the energy that you put in, and it's obviously shown with staff as well. So thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Oh, one other thing. All this information, and I've said this before, I don't know how to say it, maybe the Cliff Note version, but what you were saying a while ago, Ms. Kessler, this information needs to be, we need a help in getting this information to our stakeholders, because it is very good information, very positive information, but we do have new board members, folks coming down behind our staff that are in place now, need to understand the 2030 plan, as do, like I said, our stakeholders. So.
Ms. Summers, Dawn is gonna post this to our website, and then we're doing, well, we aren't, I'm not, somebody is, 400 thumb drives that we can distribute in the community. So we'll give the board members all a handful. You can talk to whoever happens to be in your circle of influence, pass them out, talk about it, go through this. We'll be glad to give you any of this information, because, you know, the bottom line, there's an awful lot of folks, and the direction and the challenge came from the board. And I know there've been a lot of times in the last 5.5 years, this board's kind of scratched your head when we started throwing out money about, we're gonna add $9 million here, trust us till we get to the end. That, you know, that was a lot of trust in y'all, but hopefully we have, we've earned that trust, and Don and his folks have done a good job, and Marty's as tight as if it was her own money, so we're okay.
All right. Moving on to the monthly financial reports. Ms. Ross.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, you have before you your end of October reports. I did put a new revenue report at your table today. The reason we have this update is because we don't get the information from the county on tax receipts until about the middle of the month. So I got this about 3 or 4 days ago, which I wanted to make sure you all realized that we weren't looking as bad as it looked on the reports we sent out initially. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them on the monthly revenues. Please remember that our local revenues, the majority of that comes in to us December, January, February, because that's when taxes are paid. So it looks like we haven't collected a lot, but it's coming. Are there any questions on the revenues for general fund? All right, so moving on to the expenditure analysis. One thing I want to bring to your attention here, we are under our expenditures for last year, but remember, you also have paid for more time for teachers. Like Dr. James said, we paid for teachers to come in extra time, and some of that was out of general fund. So you have actually had more expenditures this time, right this year, than you had this time last year, and we are still maintaining under budget. Any questions on expenditures? Your next report is your pupil activity funds listed by school. These are funds that the school has a little more discretion on. However, this also includes some very much earmarked funds. This will be your athletics, any clubs, chorus, fine arts groups. There's lots of different pots of money in each school. Also, their school fees and athletic participation fees go into these accounts. They do not all have each individual checkbooks for the new members. It's all, everything is done centralized for checking. Each school doesn't have a checkbook. Some districts do have that. We do not. The last report is our capital project commitments. This is what we have committed for the rest of the referendum. Any questions on this report? The last thing I want to bring up to you all, it is time for us to do some arbitrage calculations on our issuances. I have some data on what arbitrage is, but it's basically that we issue debt for a rate and we can't make money off of it by investing it and not spending it. We have to spend money when we issue bonds. So this is our short-term and our long-term bond issuances. It's going to go all the way back to cover the some 2015 issuances, all the way through the most recent, and this group is going to be the 2017 issuances. Amtech has done this for us before. Mike Gallagher, our financial advisor, has arranged all this. He has recommended that we do this, and the total cost of all of this is $16,000. So Amtech will come in and look at all the interest that we've earned, all the issuance documents, and just verify that we're not in any arbitrage situation where we would have to pay the federal government back. That is because these are municipal tax exempt bonds. That's the reason this happens. So I just want to let you all know that they will be doing, Amtech will be doing the work for us. $16,000 is the cost. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, that's the report.
All right, thank you. Without objection, the monthly financial reports are accepted as presented. Now for the operations update, Mr. Eisenhower.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, you have in your notebook the most recent operations update. And for our two new board members, this is something that we try to do every month to keep our board members apprised of what's happening. Also, we post these online so that the community can see them as well. So if you have any questions on those, I'll be happy to answer those at this time.
Mr. Eisenhower, were we aware that the mold situation at Congaree was going to be that expensive?
We were not. It started out as being basically 3 rooms, and then we decided that we wanted to test more of the rooms, and it turned out to be a lot more rooms involved than we thought.
Okay.
And a lot of that was because we were unoccupied since March, and we were running HVAC in a different mode and things like this, and we kind of got caught a little bit in that particular instance.
Okay, was every room checked then, or just
Yeah.
wings?
Every room was checked, I think. Every room was
Good.
monitored. We dealt with any issues that we had, and then we retested after we cleaned those rooms and did the mitigation.
Is there any way that we can prevent that from happening again, that facility, because we have had issues there in the past?
We are going to do our best, yes, ma'am. Again, we didn't anticipate being
Okay.
unoccupied for as long as we were, and you know, we'll try to keep a better handle on that. But we do have some facilities that do not have very good
Circulation?
ground protection. A lot of them were poured concrete onto the soil, and we get a lot of seepage sometimes of moisture from the ground.
Thank you.
We've had to deal with that in several places.
This is complete, the remediation, everything's been
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go to enrollment update and current student COVID-19 update. Mr. Hinton.
Okay. Madam Chair, if I may, I failed to mention one thing. Our maintenance guys were asked to install all of these plexiglass barriers on all of our desks. And we had in your report that we've installed 6,000 of those. We've actually, to date, installed 8,750 of those, and we've left, I think, 700 at Brooklyn Casey High School because they're going to install them themselves, teachers are. So we are fully ready for our December 2nd when our students come back.
Okay, very good.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James. Start off tonight with the COVID reports. Every day in student services, we run a daily report that shows us what the actual situation in Lexington is. To get on this report, you have to be deemed either positive or you've had a close contact and you're quarantined. Come off this list is when you return to school. And we found those did work. This will look totally different in a couple of days. Last week at this time, it really looked a lot different because our positives were ahead of our quarantine. But we do this every day so you can see. We do this every day so you can see exactly where we are. And when this board voted for the 10% positive plus quarantine is what we would base our decisions on. That's what we look for every day. And right now, our rates are nowhere close. When you see something like the quarantines that are in the double digits, we go and look and make sure they're not in the same rooms. We look for hot spots every day because the 10% could be a kindergarten room, it could be a study hall, it could be anything like that. But we go through and make sure. This will get to be more as kids come on 5 days a week, but I just can't tell you the communication between our families and our teachers. We find out most of the quarantines are from exposures from home. We saw for the first time this week and the end of last week, kids at schools with symptoms. And we're monitoring those kids as they go and get tested. It takes 2 to 3 days for us to get the results back in. The next sheet is the cumulative since the start of school. You can see how many positive cases and how many quarantines we've had. Any questions?
And this actually may be a question for Dr. Cooper, but a parent had asked me, so like if a teacher of virtual ends up getting either quarantined or positive, do they count anywhere? And if so, where do they count? So like if they're from Congaree and they're positive, would they go in Congaree's positive numbers, or how do we count?
They would.
The virtual teachers.
They would go in their homeschool numbers, yes. Absolutely.
And the staff is not reflected in these numbers, but we know who the staffs are, and we have on our spreadsheet, when we actually use names, we have the teacher plugged in there because we're looking at that room to see they would be part of the 10%.
After evening, so are we tracking what percent of the quarantines end up being positive? Because
We
the
do.
quarantine number is going to look high. Is that something that we can
And just say,
see?
for example, at the quarantine at Busby Creative Academy, there are 7 kids that are quarantined right now. If one of them says they're positive tomorrow, it'll become 6, and we'll move that positive kid over into the other column. Yes, sir. We have to.
I think it'd be good to keep a track of that, how that delta shifts, so that when we're starting to look in a month from now that we've got X number of quarantine, we can start to extrapolate. Is that going to be X number of positives later, just based off of our past trends.
And we have that on our
Awesome.
spreadsheets. We have a starting date, ending day, and if it comes in that they went from quarantine to positive, what date they were positive on, which starts the 10-day period completely over for the kid. They could be 10 days into quarantine, they turn positive on the 11th day, then it starts over for them. So we have to keep up with all that. Our school nurses are incredible, keeping up, and the contact tracing and all that kind of stuff. It takes a good long while.
And Mr. Bray, I'll tell you from a staffing standpoint, it is the same, and it is a must with DHEC in the way that the numbers are reported for quarantine and isolation. So keeping up with the movement there is something that we do. And I assure you, DHEC calls. They call. We talk to them regularly. Never know what they're going to say. Most of the time it's about contact tracing. But there are very specific things that the district has to do, both for students and staff, with regard to the change in that category. So yes, we do have all that.
Okay, Ms. Wooten.
Thank you. Ms. Rucker. I'm going to go back to Don. Several questions from parents, teachers, students. Go back to the plexiglass on the desk and explain the cleaning process, who cleans, what they're going to be cleaned with, how often, when, et cetera. Please.
So the plexiglass, we have almost 9,000 installed. That's 27,000 times 2, so you're looking at 54,000 individual little pieces to wipe on each side. We have cleaner in the classrooms for all the teachers. We have put some Windex bottles that are coming out probably first of next week. The teachers will also have those. It needs to be a combination of custodians and any other help we can get. I mean, because, you know.
So,
We,
my question is, are the teachers cleaning them, or the students cleaning them, or the facilities?
We'll end up, Ms.
Are
Wood,
they cleaned in between classes? I mean, that's
when
what the
when
questions
different
are.
kids well, elementary and middle school, the kids won't be different kids, but the kids will have to do the vast majority of spraying and wiping down the shields where they are. With the number of custodians that we have, if you talked about 5 minutes for each of those shields, you'd be over 3 weeks just getting them clean. So it's numerically impossible for the custodial staff to clean every one of them every day. So it's going to have to be one of those things where Bill's folks keep cleaning supplies in the classrooms and kids are spraying it down and wiping it down. That's the most effective way.
And we are supplying the cleaning supplies?
Yes, ma'am. The Defender supplying that through our contract.
and I have purchased Windex and alcohol wipes and many other things for a lot of the schools as well.
As far as sanitation, the after-hour sanitation crew is fogging those rooms, spraying those rooms. That goes down and, sterilizes desk and everything, so.
So in the high schools, are they going to be cleaned as they change? The student cleans before he leaves, or the teacher cleans?
That's the recommended procedures that they clean before they leave. And I want to address that too, just so that we clear up any kind of misperception out there. I don't know, the rumor mill is rampant and everybody looks for a stone to throw, it seems sometimes, but there was this thing going around that somebody had supposedly put something in their classroom and it was like luminol, and if it got sprayed it went away, or it lit up, or it did something magical, and all of a sudden the folks weren't supposedly spraying. Well, that generated enough that Ron Arnold has gone back and looked at the videos for all those classrooms. So I don't know what anybody has put down or if they actually did, but what I do know is custodians are going into every one of those classrooms and staying long enough to fog it. Now, I can't see in the classroom and Don can't see in the classroom, but if you happen to hear that, that's not accurate. Everybody in this district wants everybody to be as safe as is humanly possible, and we don't have custodians not spraying. They're spraying every day, and they're doing a really, really good job. So if you hear that as a board member, I assure you that is not true. But The other piece of that, Ms. Wooten, we're gonna have to depend on kids to help clean those because we just don't have enough adults to take on a task that big. The first batch of shields that we got those out, and as a matter of fact, we got 8,000 done that we got from Fort Mill.
Yes.
Yes.
So that we had to make sure that every classroom that kids changed into, there would be shields on all the desks. So, right now, we got over 12,000 shields put out, which is over 3,000 more than we've got kids. But we'll have to have them help us.
Do the schools have extra cleaner stored somewhere so that if a teacher during the middle of the day needs more cleaner, they have a way to get it during the day?
Yes, ma'am. The process is for that custodian who cleans that classroom in the evening, if that bottle's less than half full, they fill it full.
Okay.
So that it should never ideally run out. But there is, every custodial closet has a dispenser right there with all the product in it, so it's readily available at all the schools.
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay.
Forgive my ignorance if this has been spoken about prior to this, but with the shields going up, I've heard twice this week about especially teachers of little kids saying that the shields are distracting more than anything else. Is there any type of divorce plan or getting rid of the shields at some point? Has that been discussed? Has that been planned?
We haven't talked in depth about that, Mr. Bright. The shields we have came from the State Department of Education. DHEC has done as much endorsement as DHEC will do. They will readily tell you that they don't sign off on individual products, but the state of South Carolina has bought millions of dollars worth of these shields. I think you're right in the movement away from that shield personally. If you look at all the information that is provided by the CDC, the shield is more of a security blanket than it is a prevention for health. It makes people feel good, but there's not really the evidence that says that shield does nearly what a mask does. Hopefully, as we go into the year, things start to move in a more normal fashion. We get classes balanced out. We can start looking at socially distancing kids more than the shield and look at what individual teachers and individual groups of kids have to say about it. Some people are going to always feel that need to have the shield, the face mask as much as they can, while others may not. So we're constantly looking for a way to get back to normal.
I would suggest, not making a movement here, but that as we're thinking about that, we let the teachers have a lot of input on it. Because like you said, some teachers are going to want that safety mask, and some are going to want to be able to see the little kids' faces. So,
Well, I think it's absolutely right that the teachers have some input into what their classroom is, because while we know a lot of instances that teachers have, we don't know everything. And there are a lot of folks out there who have elderly parents, who have sick children, who have sick spouses, who have issues of their own. And so we want to keep them in school healthy if we have to wear a mask and sit behind shields for a long time. So, yes, sir.
And so consistent as we can into
The one thing about doing it daily, we can target hot areas, and we can contact maintenance directly saying, we gotta have some help there, let the administration know too. So we're not just putting numbers down, we're actually analyzing it, looking at it. The next report is, yes.
So, Mr. Hinton, in the grades that we sent back already, and I know we're only, a week in, right? Have you noticed any pickup in those particular grades as opposed to other grades?
If you could have seen this before we went back full-time last Thursday, it was more. So, when we pulled this one up today, a lot of kids came off. A lot of kids went on right after, a week after Halloween. That was up.
There was actually several days where we had more kids in the virtual program who were positive than we had in the school system.
So what we found today in the last couple of days, kids are coming back off, and when we look them up in Power School, they are actually back attending school. And that's a good thing. And after 10 days, as long as their feet are free for 24 hours prior to coming back, they have immunity, and they'll help. Our kids are wearing a mask. Knock on wood, I don't want to jinx us or anything like that, but they're wearing their mask. And it's a lot better than the surrounding, the county or anything like that. And the last couple of days too, if you look at the numbers, they've been high in South Carolina, but Lexington County's still down as far as that goes. So next, December 2nd, when everybody comes back, might have to eat extra bowl of Wheaties or something like that. We'll keep up with it though. We understand how important it is.
And then, Dr. James, I would just say, I know that, this board, obviously, last meeting or two, turned this obviously straight back over to administration where it should be to make these day-to-day decisions, but just, want to make sure you obviously know that this board would also stand available if you felt like you needed to call any other kind of meeting, to make any adjustments in the, moving kids around or class sizes or things like that. I think our priority is your priority, which is let's deliver it as safely as possible, get our kids educated, but as safely as possible. And I think we just all are on the same page with that. I just know that there's a lot of concern right now with people heading home for, family gatherings over Thanksgiving, over Christmas break, and, potentially hitting this flu season as well. So, we just appreciate everything you're doing, Mr. Hinton, and keeping up all the track of this. And Dr. Cooper, appreciate you as well. And just let us know what it is you need from us for your support.
Thank you, ma'am.
The other report is the standard enrollment report. We met late in October, last board meeting, so it's only been about 22, 23 days. We've picked up an additional almost 70 students. So you see we're at 8349 and we were in the 8200s. As you know, we don't count our 3- and 4-year-olds, but we need 8,600 kids to make our budget. So we went up 70 kids, plus we've got another big deal after Thanksgiving and after Christmas, our big runs of people moving and coming into the district. Plus we're going to be one of the few districts in this state that are going 5 days a week with everybody starting December the 2nd. So I think people are going to maybe give up their homeschool or something like that coming back to us. Plus our numbers show that we're doing well with keeping everybody safe. So I didn't expect if it had been a regular board meeting, we'd had a month in between. This wouldn't have been a good report. This is only 20 days and we picked up almost 70 kids. So we're heading to 8,600. Answer any questions you might have at this time.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Hinton. And again, thank you for everyone for all the hard work and tracking this daily and keeping us updated. We appreciate it. Now it is time to move to executive session. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. I believe Ms. Branham has the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Rucker. I'd like to make a motion that the Board of Trustees enter a closed session for the following: consideration of personnel appointments and resignations, consideration of a request for out-of-district tuition waiver, discussion of property matters, and the discussion of contractual matters.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Branham. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Ms. Wooten. Without objection, we move into executive session. I think no votes were taken during executive session. Are there any motions put forth before the board as a result from discussions from executive session?
Ms. Rucker, I make a motion that the meeting be reconvened in open session and the appropriate affidavit executed. And do I have a second for that? Second. Okay. All those in favor?
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Second.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rucker. I make a motion to accept the personnel appointments and resignations as recommended by administration.
Do we have, okay, motion, do we have a second?
Second, Mrs. Kessler.
Yep, Ms. Kessler.
All those in favor?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay. I make another motion that we approve the out-of-district tuition waiver.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Wooten. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carried.
And lastly, Ms. Rucker, I make a motion that we authorize our administration and legal counsel to negotiate a contract on a district property.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Go with one. Okay, Mr. Bray? Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting is now adjourned.
Cindy, you seconded the motion.